Today on Locked On Rockies, moments away from the first pitch of the 2022 season, the Kris Bryant, Bill Schmidt era officially underway. What's that mean? We talk about it.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans. Welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 17th day of 2022, the first day of spring training games. The Rockies will be playing a competitive, even though training style, Major League Baseball game today in a matter of mere hours, actually, just in a few hours here. We also got CSU men's basketball going on, so I want to give a shout out to them as well as they begin, hopefully, a nice March Madness run. Today on the Locked On Rockies podcast, we are going to talk about... What else? Kris Bryant is a Colorado Rocky. We're going to talk about the deal and what that means for the philosophy and identity of the club. And I wanted to dive in a little bit more because this move had people all over baseball wondering just what the heck is going on with the Colorado Rockies. And honestly, I'm asking that question too. And if you're asking who I am, I'm Rockies fan extraordinaire, Paul Holden. I'm bringing you all sorts of Rockies coverage every single day during the regular season and a whole lot more here as part of the Locked On Rockies podcast. You can also find me on the airwaves in Seattle and a lot more at paulfholden.com. On today's episode, like I said, we're talking Kris Bryant, we're talking identity, we're talking a whole lot more. So let's start there. Kris Bryant is a Colorado Rocky. We head to MajorLeagueBaseball.com. Rockies to land Bryant for 7 years, $182 million. Thomas Harding writes, the Rockies reached a 7-year, $182 million agreement with Kris Bryant. Sources told MajorLeagueBaseball.com on Wednesday. The four-time All-Star lifted the Cubs to the 2016 World Series title while earning National League MVP honors. MLB Network insider John Heyman with first reported the deal, which includes a full no-trade clause and is pending a physical. The club has not confirmed the move. Bryant, 30, became the Rockies' chosen player to provide a middle-of-the-lineup threat when shortstop Trevor Story spurned the club's attempts to re-sign him. Bryant transforms an outfield group that struggled for production last year, and he makes the Rockies less dependent on emerging players as they attempt to surprise in the National League West. Last season, Bryant batted .265 with 25 home runs and 73 RBIs for the Cubs and Giants, who traded for him at the deadline to help make a late playoff push. He is a career .278 hitter with an 880 OPS, 167 home runs, and 487 RBIs. That is the Rockies' new power bat, folks, Kris Bryant. The Rockies have a long history of being interested in Kris Bryant, and they really wanted to get this deal done. This organization went out and made a deal on a high caliber player and put the money up. Now, a lot of the conversation and a lot of stuff yesterday, there is a lot of comparisons. There's a lot of why this move. And I was asking myself that too. And often I found myself kind of frustrated a little bit in that mindset because as most things, and as we've talked about many times, the trade that drastically rocked the Rockies franchise a couple years ago still sits in mind, especially when you look at those contract numbers and the commitment to a player like that. It's kind of why this? Why make the moves? Why move on from Arenado, Story, and Gray, but then offer this big superstar deal to Kris Bryant? And I didn't really have a good answer. It was because I that's the way the chips fell. That's where things were at. But then I read over on Purple Row here from Evan Lang this morning. Bill Schmidt appears to be building his team his way. It's been a far more interesting free agency period than Colorado Rockies fans are used to, as new general manager Bill Schmidt works at filling holes and making improvements on the roster. Since taking the reins following the 2021 season, Schmidt has made a bevy of moves to make his mark. Before the lockout, Schmidt signed starting pitcher Antonio Senzatella, first baseman CJ Cron, and catcher Elias Diaz to healthy extensions. While Senzatella is now locked down as a key member of the rotation, Cron and Diaz are here to stay until promising prospects like Michael Toglia and Drew Romo are ready for their big league debuts. Schmidt also retained the service of right-hand pitcher Ulyss Chacin on a cheap one-year deal after the past and present Rocky had a strong season out of the bullpen. But what I was talking more about, and I think you should go and read this article. That's just the summary. I'm going to skip forward here. Since the news dropped, I've seen everyone from colleagues to Ken Rosenthal question why the Rockies, a team that jettisoned a disgruntled Nolan Arenado along with $51 million to the St. Louis Cardinals and allowed Trevor Story to leave in free agency for not but a compensated draft pick, would sign a new superstar for superstar money. I'm going to do my best to explain why. And again, we are reading from Evan Lang on Purple Row. Bill Schmidt appears to be building his team his way. Jeff Bridich and Dick Monfort did a lot of damage to the team over the last 4 years, culminating in the massive loss of star power when Arenado and Story departed. Arenado was angry, Story was upset and confused. The well appeared so thoroughly poisoned that it was incredibly unlikely either player would have stayed if given the opportunity. Arenado was angry at Bridich and the organization's failure to deliver on the promise of building a winning roster around him. Story was angry after the Arenado departure, which was made worse after Dick Monfort's deadline by committee failed to trade him at the 2021 deadline. It is speculated by Lang and others that Bill Schmidt didn't actually have much power as the interim GM in 2021, largely installed as a figurehead while Dick Monfort ran the show. Renee Descartes posted it as such. The Rockies, I suspect, are still making decisions by committee with Schmidt as a figurehead interim general manager, while Dick Monfort does the big baseball calls. Moreover, I've come to think that Monfort sees the word rebuild as bad for business, which would explain the Rockies don't do rebuilds philosophy. After all, who wants to pay money to see a self-admitting losing team? Jeff Bridich mercifully left the organization, though Monfort remains. Now that Bill Schmidt is the actual general manager, he has the power to start building onto the roster he inherited. More importantly, he's cleaning up the mess that the previous regime left for him. Kris Bryant is the key to that mission. There's more there, but that's an interesting point. As much as we've harped on Schmidt being a Monfort guy, an inside the organization guy, if he truly didn't have as much power as I really thought, I was kind of more in the mindset of Schmidt having more power behind the scenes because he was given the role. But we don't, with the way Purple Row is speculating there, I mean, it's very likely that the committee, and they mentioned the specific examples in the piece as well. I thought Bill Schmidt had more power. And if I'm wrong in that, and Dick Monfort was running the show, then we do need to take that step back and look at it solely as this is now Schmidt's team. And when Schmidt took over, the Arenado deal was done. The Story deal didn't happen. When Bill Schmidt actually took over to getting the power that he wants, maybe that didn't happen until he officially was named the GM. That doesn't answer necessarily the question of why go after Bryant with that money and not Story. Personally, if that's the deal you're offering to Bryant, I would have offered it to Trevor Story just to see if he'd come back, just because I don't know, just to try, just to show that commitment, just to show Bill Schmidt saying, hey, listen, I'm here. I'm trying to help as well. I'm trying to build around this team. But it's also likely that Schmidt saw it as, I need to create the new identity Rockies. I need to wash away this honestly scorched earth that was left behind by Bridich and the ensuing season after his departure last year, the boggling of the trade deadline and Gray and Story not being on the team anymore. How can I make the impact? I'm going to go out and sign a player the Rockies have loved since 2013. I'm going to go out and make a deal and get Kris Bryant and see what he can do, see what the former MVP can do for the Colorado Rockies. It's okay to be frustrated. It's understandable to be frustrated, and it's honestly understandable to be hurt. The Rockies, I think, honestly, really the one of the most impactful lines of that. And again, I implore you to go read the rest of it because there's more there. I just wanted to talk about the topic. Let me find it. Jeff Bridich and Dick Monfort did a lot of damage to the team over the last 4 years, culminating in the massive loss of star power. And that was on full display up until yesterday. The Rockies were about to head into the season really without a bona fide superstar. Charlie Blackmon is not performing at the level to say that he's a superstar anymore. He's still an identity piece of the team, still will help people, make fans excited to go see him. But now Schmidt is saying, here's the identity we're building. And that's something to be encouraged by. It's not your money. It's not maybe the players exactly. It's not the players that the beloved Rockies that us Rockies fans would like still on the team. But however, it is bringing in a good baseball player. And it's a willingness to spend a high level of money for a high caliber player. Will they commit to this? There's still a lot of questions still to ask. Let's keep talking about this, about the Kris Bryant deal and what this means for the philosophy and the identity of the Rockies. But first, got to tell you about Mission Possible. Are you ready to discover your purpose and leave an impact wherever you go? Mission Possible. Written and read by New York Times bestselling author and athlete Tim Tebow, encourages you to find your inspiration, pursue your purpose, and create a life for yourself that counts. Ignite a new spark in your life through this new inspirational listen. Mission Possible by Tim Tebow is available everywhere audiobooks are sold. That's Mission Possible by Denver Bronco himself, Tim Tebow. So again, please go read that piece that kind of anchored us into the conversation we're having here. I think the piece, by the way, people probably maybe you should name the thing. Bill Schmidt appears to be building his team his way. You can't sit here and say the Rockies didn't do something different this offseason. And as a Rockies fan, I think, again, I'm not trying to take away from the emotions and the sting of losing huge superstars, grown superstars that helped put the Rockies in a place of spotlight. But you do have to appreciate the Rockies spent money this offseason. You do have to appreciate the Rockies made 4 major league deals this offseason. You do have to appreciate that Bill Schmidt did go out and spend some money. That is something you do need to look at and read. It's important. That is important. It's just something that you have to think about. You gotta consider, and honestly, it's something that should help you as well. Help you as a Rockies fan at least feel a tiny bit better. This isn't going to fix everything. This season is probably going to be a long slog. I mean, the Dodgers just got Freddie freaking Freeman. The Rockies are in way over their head in the NL West. But with how much of the Rockies, especially the last 4 years, has been kind of painful and hurt and annoying and frustrating, I don't want to just sit and dwell and just point out, everything with the Rockies has to relate to Nolan Arenado. I mean, I do it all the time. I am a victim of bringing everything back to Nolan. I am on record of saying that. But I'm not going to ignore that. But if this Kris Bryant deal signals a new era of mindset of Major League Baseball signings, of approaching players, of actually trying to bring people into the Rockies, then I'm all for it. Hopefully, Schmidt himself says draft and develop, but maybe as long as it's drafting and develop, but still being active in free agency. If just still knowing that he can go out and make an impact. I mean, if Iglesias has a bounce back year, that's a good deal. We talked about the 1-year deal. I mean, in a 1-year bounce back year for Iglesias, and it could lead to maybe a 1-year extension on it where he splits time with Trejo to just give Trejo building up, and then bam, Trejo's ready to go as Iglesias, heads to the end of his career. It's interesting. The biggest mistake of Bill Schmidt's tenure so far is letting John Gray go. And not being more aggressive for Trevor Story, but I think that relationship was ruined. I think Schmidt is really trying to create his identity of the Rockies, and I don't know if he's necessarily going to hide away from the previous regime, because he can't, because the owner's still there. Dick Monfort is still involved with this team, and still could play a massive role and still could majorly impact what's going to go on. It will impact what's going on in terms of the Rockies, their identity, and their willingness to sign and spend money on players. But as much as I'm scratching my head, as much as I'm wondering why this is the plan still, which I am, why was Kris Bryant the plan for this deal 2 years later when you still could have had Arenado and Story and John Gray? And honestly, probably if you wanted to, Kris Bryant as well. Why was that the plan? Why are we in this position now? I ask myself that. I'm still incredibly frustrated by the Rockies. Especially because you're signing Kris Bryant at a time where you're not going to be super competitive. However, I mean, it's nice to know that there's a guy, an MVP, a World Series champion, coming into the Rockies to help be on this team. The Rockies are in a better position today than they were when I recorded the podcast yesterday. That's a fact. You can't say the Rockies didn't get worse. The Rockies most certainly did not get worse by signing Kris Bryant. Was it exactly the move that fans and you and this podcast host exactly wanted? No, but out of their targets, they went and they got the big free agent bat for the outfield. That's what they said they were going to do, and they did that. And that means something to me. I'm still disgruntled. I'm still frustrated. I am still, a pissed off Rockies fan. Don't get me wrong. At the end of the day, but I'm happy. I'm happy that the team said this and they did this. They told us the plan and they followed the plan. That's something that hasn't been the case. Now, are they going to commit to this Bryant deal? Is Bryant going to perform? Those are questions we have to answer later. I'm just saying more so we are seeing an identity forming, at least, and Bill Schmidt having a plan. And the plan was getting that big bat for the outfield to build the offense and plug the holes as needed due to big free agency departures of John Gray and Trevor Story, which they did. Are they going to be better replacements? No, I'm saying his job or his idea or his plan was to fill those holes to see what's next for the players that they hope to draft and develop. So be critical of and again, if the players underperform, that's another thing. And I get that. But we do have to sit here as Rockies fans, even if we don't agree with the moves and think they're not the right moves. The Rockies had holes that needed being filled, and they didn't just rely on putting someone up from from the farm system that wasn't ready. They went out and spent money on major league level players. Are they great players? We need to see. I appreciate that. I appreciate that the Rockies spent money this offseason. I really do. And I appreciate that they sent money to extend players that they believe in. We can get down into the weeds and into the nuts and the bolts, and we will. That's the point of this podcast, and that's the point of what we're going to do all season long. But as the spring training game is about to be underway, the first one, we at least can sit here and say, it might not be the moves we wanted the Rockies to make, but the Rockies did make moves this offseason. And that's something they haven't done since Daniel Murphy. So I think that's something that it's something to be excited about. And I mean, it's honestly exciting, the potential that Kris Bryant has. I mean, if Kris Bryant comes and mashes the ball for the Rockies, that's going to have a serious impact. There's been some talk with Bud Black about Kris Bryant and the role he's going to play on the Rockies. Let's dive into that. Let me know what you all think, by the way, about the Kris Bryant sign. Comments to the YouTube video or hit me up on Twitter at LO Rockies. But today's episode is brought to you by rockauto.com. You know what, folks, with the gas prices and everything today, you don't need to be wasting time making unnecessary trips, and you know what your car needs. Most of you out there, especially those out there that love to tinker with their car, you know what your car needs. Save time and money and use rockauto.com and just skip the whole process of having to have the person use the computer for you. When you have access to one right there in your pocket. Why choose to spend 30%, 50%, even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or car dealership? Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. They got reliably low prices for every single customer. That includes you, the listener, right now. They have everything that you could need: brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet. You can go explore the easy-to-use website to find the solution for your auto parts needs. Like I said, they got the fuel pumps, they got the tail lamps, they got the wiper blades. Everything that your car or truck is going to need, you can go and check it out at rockauto.com. And when you head to rockauto.com to see all the parts available for your car or truck, write Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know that we sent you. That's Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. That's rockauto.com. We head to the Twitter sphere now, as Bud Black has spoke with the media and has talked about some of the roles that Kris Bryant will play. Nick Croak says Kris Bryant will play left field for the Rockies, Bud Black said. Raimel Tapia, also a left fielder, has not yet arrived to Scottsdale. Rocks say he's stuck with visa issues and has no ETA. Let's see. Kris Bryant is also going to wear number 23, his number with the Giants. His Cubs number 17 is retired in Colorado in honor of Todd Helton. Peter Lambert last wore 23. It has long Rocks history from Ryan Ricard and John Cagliosi and Bubba Carpenter and Ross Glode. Those are both tweets from Nick Groke. So my idea of Bryant in right field, not a thing, I guess. Maybe I was just wishful thinking, I suppose, for me. But Bryant's hopefully going to improve me wrong with good defense in left. Danielle Allentuck says Rockies manager Bud Black said Kris Bryant will primarily play left field. He wanted to be a Rocky, Black said when they asked how they were able to get this deal done. Patrick Lyons also adds that Bryant will be playing left field for the Rockies. So as three people reported from the words of manager Bud Black's mouth himself, Kris Bryant will be the left fielder for the Colorado Rockies. Also added that players of Bryant's caliber are kept in one spot. That was a follow-up from Patrick Lyons there from the Bud Black press conference. So there you go. Bud Black confirming Kris Bryant is going to be the left fielder for the Colorado Rockies. That is very interesting. What does that mean for someone like Raimel Tapia? What does that mean for Hilliard? My guess right off the bat is Tapia is going to play center field, Bryant in left, and then, or is Tapia moving to right field with Hilliard in center? That could happen too. Or we got Connor Joe there too. It's going to be interesting. And speaking of Connor Joe, let's get a look at today's lineup. The first lineup card for the Rockies today as they take on the D-backs for the first spring training game. We got Hampson, Lopez, Joe, Welker, Schebler, Perez, Boswell, Vialde, Trejo, and Block. Ty Block is on the bump today. So you're seeing some interesting faces. My eyes will be glued to Connor Joe all off season long. And that's going to be something that I'm really, really interested in. I am very interested in what's going to happen with the Rockies and Connor Joe. Thomas Harding 5 minutes ago. Rockies move Scott Oberg to the 60-day injured list to clear a spot on the 40-man Major League roster for Colome, whose signing became official on Thursday. Oberg still dealing with that stuff. I need to update I've never done that yet. Okay. Here we go, folks. It's on. Rocky season is here. We're going to be talking about spring training games. We're going to be talking about all sorts of fun stuff throughout the season. Please follow us on Twitter at LO Rockies and subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can keep yourself informed with the Colorado Rockies as we go through what should be a very, very interesting 2022 season. How the Rockies will compete with this NL West, I do not know. but they're going to try, and they're going to do the darndest, and we're going to have a lot of fun watching and talking about the Rockies along the way, because this is the Locked On Rockies podcast. I'm your host, Paul Holden. You can follow me at Paul Holden 33. Go listen to the Locked On MLB podcast for your second listen of the day. No one better in the business than Sully. And hey, like I said, follow us on Twitter. Like and subscribe on your favorite streaming service. We'd love your 5-star review if you think I do a 5-star job. Folks, until next time, this has been the Locked On Rockies podcast, and I'm Paul Holden saying so long.